But here's where things get even better, guys. The winning touchdown, the rush up the middle, guess where the running back ran? To where the 11th player would have been. This circle right here was where the other defensive lineman should have been. Did I stay up until 1:30 a.m. watching Arizona State give USC a run for their money? Yes. Did I regret it in the morning? No, because that's what college football is all about. We'll talk about that game a little later in this video, but first things first, what a week it was. This week, it actually lived up to my expectations. Very rarely when you have a week like this that is so hyped up, you got 6 top 25 matchups, does it actually live up to the hype, and I feel like it did. Really great football all around the board from 11 a.m., like I said, until 1:30 a.m. the following day. I was nonstop entertained. So much great stuff going on, and as the day was winding up, as I was watching that USC Arizona State game, I was like, man, this is what life's about. Does it get any better than this? Sitting on your couch for what is it, like 12, 13, 14 hours, just watching college football all day long. That is a dream day, at least for me. And I can't emphasize this enough. What made it so good wasn't just watching football itself, it was watching all the good games. I enjoyed myself. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself too. Hope you ate a lot of food. Hope you had a good time. And yeah, you know what we're about to do in this video. It's a recap. This is always one of my favorite videos to make, and I think a lot of you guys enjoy it as well. Or at least I hope you do, and we got a lot to talk about, including the Notre Dame and the Ohio State game. That was a game, wasn't it? And yeah, you could say that's going to be the main topic and main focal point of this video. There's a lot of things I want to touch on, so buckle up, strap in for this one. It's going to be a good one. All right, Matt. Blah, blah. Shut the crap out. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, first things first, we're going to start out with our 11 a.m. games first. And you know who played at 11 a.m.? The Cinnamon Rolls and Clemson. That was a game, wasn't it? That was a game. First things first, congratulations to the Florida State fans. It's a big-time win. You won in a hostile environment. You didn't have your best stuff. You didn't play a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think you played as good as you played LSU in the second half, and you walk out there with a win. This is what I like to label as championship DNA. This is one of those games, if I was a Florida State fan, I'd be feeling extremely happy about, because this is a win that every champion has at one point throughout the season. It's championship DNA. There's no other way to describe it. You won the game, you pulled it out, great win. To me, at least, that's all there is to say about Florida State, because I think they played their B+ game. They played good, and this really felt like, to me at least, a top 15, top 10 matchup. I get it, trust me, Clemson's down. They lost to Duke by 21 points. They lost this game. They're now sitting at 2-2, but Clemson's still a solid ball club. Remember, their head coach has not won but 2 national titles. My point is, it's not like Clemson is an easy lick and they're an easy opponent. And plus, too, you knew Clemson was going to give you their A game, home game, their season's on the line. Yeah, this was their Super Bowl. This was a playoff game for Clemson. Same thing for Alabama. Alabama and Clemson, every single game they play from here on out, it's a playoff game. Whether you want to look at it from that standpoint or not, that's up to you, but that's how I view it. And that's what's so impressive about this game to me, at least, because Florida State's playoff hopes, they weren't on the line in this game. They can afford to lose one more, but Clemson can't. And Clemson gave them their best shot, and Florida State still came out of there with a win. Can't emphasize enough how impressive that is to me that Florida State won this ball game. On the flip side of it, as far as it goes for Clemson, I just straight up feel bad for y'all. For example, I said Florida State played their B game. I thought Clemson played their B+ game. You should have won. You had every opportunity in the world to win this game, but you know what changed the game? When you were up 24-17 and Cade Klubnik got sacked and Florida State took it in for 7 points. That was the play of the game, because on that drive, you were in your opponent's territory. You were about to at least get another field goal, or potentially, we'll talk about that in just a second, or you're probably going to get another touchdown, and that just changed everything. And I hate to put the blame, well, no, I don't hate to put the blame on. What am I saying? It's his fault. Phil Maffa, he missed a blocking assignment on that play, and that cost him. You could argue and say that was a 14-point swing, because Clemson was going to score on that drive. So instead of Clemson going up by at least double digits, the game's tied. That is what I like to label as a game-changing play. And then to go on top of that, you overcame the adversity. You're driving down the field 24-24. A chip shot 29-yard field goal to win the game, and you miss it. I posted my reaction to this game. I said this after the game, and I'm going to say it again in this video. Dabo Swinney should not have put that kid in that position. Y'all know the story, right? The kicker for Clemson, he is literally working a 9 to 5 in New York. He's like a super senior grad. He's not even in college. He was working a corporate job, a great job at that. Dabo Swinney calls him up on Monday. Hey, we need a kicker. You want to come try out for us, or you want to see if you can win the job? He winds up winning the job. Next thing he knows, he's kicking a game-winning field goal against a top 5 team. I don't care how bad the original kicker was kicking to start the season. You don't put a guy who was working in New York City on Monday night or Sunday night in this position. He's not ready. That is a coaching mistake, and I don't care. You could say, oh, he's better than the other guy in practice. That's practice. This is a game. And if you watch this game, you know what I'm talking about. Even when he was kicking his extra points, the way he was walking up or jogging up to the ball, it just looked off. I'll put it this way. You could tell the dude just started practicing a week ago. And at the end of the day, the kid missed a 29-yard field goal. I'm not trying to make an excuse for him. I'm just saying as a head coach, I don't believe you should put that kid in that situation. That's just me. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. And of course, he misses the field goal. Clemson, they get a stop, and the game goes to OT, and we know what happened there. Florida State, they score in their first drive, and then Clemson, another game-changing play. It's 3rd and 1, and what do? They give Cade Klubnik a read pass option. Alabama used to do this play all the time with Tua Tagovailoa. You can either hand the ball up the middle or throw it out to one of your speedy wide receivers. But normally what Alabama did, they would do a slant. But you know what Clemson did on this play? They threw a bubble screen. And by Clemson, I'm talking about Cade Klubnik. That play wasn't even Dabo Swinney's fault. That is Cade Klubnik's fault. And as soon as the play was over, they panned the camera over to Dabo Swinney, and he was yelling at him, "We only needed a yard. Why did you pass?" I'm in the same shoes as Dabo Swinney. It's 3rd and 1. Run the ball. Sheesh. The last thing you want to do on a play like that is throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and of course they lose a yard. Once that play happened, I was like, yeah, they're not getting this 4th down, and of course they didn't get it. To make an extremely long story short for this game, Clemson beat Clemson. And I don't want my Florida State fans to take that the wrong way. I'm not trying to discredit y'all. Y'all played a good game, but Clemson beat themselves. Literally, they beat themselves. Miss a blocking assignment. They missed a field goal, and then they throw the ball backwards on 3rd and 1. That's not anything forced by Florida State. That's just Clemson being dumb. Or not dumb, my bad, but it's just not making the right play. It's mental mistakes. And now here we are. It's the end of week 4 and Clemson's season is officially over. Sucks to suck, but it is what it is. Also do want to mention this real briefly. Oklahoma did go into Cincinnati's home stadium and beat them 20-6. Me personally, I don't think it's anything to get too worked up about, but you did win by 14 points on the road. Not bad at all, not bad at all, but let's head into our 2:30 games. And at 2:30, come on, man. You know who was playing. We got Oregon and Colorado. Yeah, I'm not going to recap this in this video. We may talk about this game probably either Monday or Tuesday. You know what happened. Oregon just Donkey Kong smashed Colorado, and that's all there is to it for now. We'll talk about this later in the week. Other game at 2:30 that was really a focal point because Alabama's season was on the line. We had Alabama and Ole Miss, the lane train. The tale of two halves, man, the tale of two halves. At halftime, Alabama was losing in this game 7-6. First half wasn't pretty whatsoever. Alabama wound up blocking a punt in the first half. They had the ball at the 1-yard line, and they couldn't score a touchdown. The first play after blocking that punt, the center snapped it over the quarterback's head. I don't know what's going on with Alabama's center, but he can't snap the ball. Something's off there. The first half was just sloppy football from both sides. Ole Miss made a lot of mental mistakes. Alabama made a lot of mistakes. Jalen Milroe, of course, he threw an interception in the red zone, and that cost Alabama some points. Fast forward time into the second half, Alabama just dominated from start to finish. Outscored Ole Miss 18-3 in the second half and scored on nearly every single drive. Jalen Milroe turned it on. He had a great touchdown pass. He played great in the second half. I'll show you his stats right here. 17 for 21, only had 4 incompletions, 225 yards, 1 touchdown to that one costly INT. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. With Jalen Milroe, you're just going to have to accept the fact that he's going to throw 1 interception, maybe 2 per game, and he may even have a fumble thrown in there. And once you tell yourself that, if you're an Alabama fan, hey, he's going to have a costly mistake or 2, you'll start to come to peace with things, if that makes sense. If you're still shocked by Jalen Milroe throwing an interception that looks bad, you haven't been watching Alabama football. Got to give credit where credit's due. Really pleased with how he played in the second half. And overall for this game, I'm going to make a long story short, I was just happy with how Alabama played. This was a big-time game. Season's on the line. Everybody's questioning if the dynasty's falling off, if Nick Saban's lost his edge. And we went out here and we beat a good Ole Miss team, top 15 team by 14 points. Yeah, you'll take that. Anybody would take that. Let's not devalue this win because everybody's saying, oh, yeah, Alabama's, they're looking wishy-washy. Okay, well, if Alabama's not that good of a team, then this should be a big-time win. You see what I'm saying? If this Alabama team isn't good as the previous teams, you can't just look at them beating a 15th-ranked Ole Miss and go, oh, yeah, well, they're supposed to do that. You see what I'm saying? It was a solid win, really solid win. Defense, Alabama's defense is looking really good. Anytime you can hold a Lane Kiffin-led team to 10 points, that says something. Defense looked good. Offense looked better in the second half. It looks like Alabama's heading in the right direction, and they got some of that mojo back. Moving on to this game at 2:30, this one was extremely boring to watch. I regretted even watching this. Utah and UCLA. It was boring. I'm just going to show you the score, 14-7. There's nothing to say. Utah still has their backup quarterback, and they're still somehow, some way finding a way to win these games. Biggest takeaway from this game is Utah's defense is legit. Sheesh, man. Them boys can play. They can play. Watch out for them. And I'm just excited to see this Utah defense go up against USC in the future. Heading into our night games, though, man, we had some good ones. And a lot of people didn't watch this game. Well, maybe if you're in the South, you did. But I feel like the rest of the country didn't even pay attention to it. Arkansas and LSU. That game was amazing. LSU winds up hitting a game-winning field goal. And I felt so bad for Arkansas because this game defines Arkansas football over the past 5 to 10 years. Arkansas, it just seems like they can't win the big game. They can't get over the hump. They can get close. They can get really close, but they can't do it. LSU pulls it out. Jaden Daniels. It was the battle of arguably the top 2 quarterbacks in the ACC. I said ACC. I'm talking about the SEC. Jaden Daniels. He couldn't be stopped. And same thing for KJ Jefferson. Quarterbacks are playing out of their mind. Defenses in this game were a no-show. Awesome game to watch. Speaking of defenses no-showing and an offensive game to watch, what about Oregon State, DJ Ugabadoogie versus Washington State? I called it. I was wrong with Washington State when I picked this game, and they proved me right yet again. They upset Oregon State. What can I say? Washington State, they're the real deal. Not going to speak on this game too much, but check on this stat line from their quarterback, Cameron Ward. 28 for 34, only 6 incompletions, 400 passing yards, and 4 touchdowns. Wow. It doesn't get too much better than that, and he's the reason they won this game. We all know what Washington State's about. A lot of points and not a lot of defense. They win. Watch out for... I want to see that Washington State team play USC. And I'll tell you this much. The Pac-12 is arguably the most entertaining conference in the entire country. They just got so much good stuff going on there, and it sucks that it's going to end this year. It's now the Pac-2. Continuing along here, Texas, they beat the crap out of Baylor. Georgia, they took care of business, but UAB did put up 21 on Georgia. That's interesting. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, but it's not every day you see a really non-Power 5 opponent put up 21 on Georgia. I've seen them put up 14 and 17, but not 21. Before we get into this Ohio State-Notre Dame game, one more game I want to speak on. Iowa and Penn State. Guess what? I'm sick and tired of Iowa because all I see, people tweet at me nonstop. I see people in the comment section say, Matt, why do you hate Iowa so much? To give you some context, whenever we look at the new AP poll rankings, which is either on Monday or Tuesday, I always say Iowa should not be in the top 25. They suck and they're overrated. I always joke on them and their offense, but I'm not even joking. I'm being dead serious. And guess what? In this Penn State whiteout game, you saw why they shouldn't be ranked in the top 25. They suck. Their offense had less than 100. They had 76 total yards. In this ball game, they had 4 first downs. How does... I'm sorry. How does that even happen? Oh my gosh. Ban Iowa from ever being ranked inside the top 25 ever again. Until they fix that offense, which has been one of the worst in the country over the past couple of years, no, not a top 25 team. I just had to speak on that and bring it up before we move on to the Little Bro State versus Notre Dame game. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's talk about it. And man, before I say anything, what a game it was. I enjoyed this from start to finish. I said this in my live reaction after the game. I'm going to say it again. What pisses me off about this game is Notre Dame is, I haven't even seen the AP poll rankings. I'm sure they've already came out, but you know, I save my reaction until when we look at them. I can almost guarantee you that Notre Dame is going to drop in the rankings, which doesn't make any sense to me because they was an inch away from winning this ball game. So you mean to tell me just because of 1 inch, that is the deciding factor on whether or not you're going to D-rank or up-rank Notre Dame? Get the F out of here. I never understood that. No. If anything, Notre Dame should go up in the rankings or stay the same. At bare minimum, they should stay the same. I've never understood that, even as a kid. Why is a team, if you're a 9 seed and you lose to a 6 seed by 1 inch, you're going to get D-ranked? Pisses me off. Don't even get me started on that. When we talk about the AP poll, you'll probably get my live rant and tangent I'll go on because I will get pissed off. But anyways, let's talk about the game itself. Ohio State, they jumped out on top, and I thought they were going to blow them out the water. They were up 10-0 to start it out. Well, I say to start it out at halftime, it was 3-0. But in the third quarter, they were up 10-0. And then, boom, out of nowhere, Notre Dame runs off a quick 14-piece just like that, and Notre Dame's up 14-10. And then we all saw it happen on the last drive, and what in the world did I witness? That drive was so chaotic from start to finish. And when there was like 47 seconds left, Notre Dame should have won. If I was a Notre Dame fan, I don't even know if I'd be mad, sad. I don't even know what emotions I'd be feeling. Kyle McCord, we'll get to him in just a second. He played a great game. He threw a pass to what looked like a wide open Cade Stover, the tight end, and Notre Dame safety read it to a T. He had a wide open interception and he dropped it. He couldn't make the catch. And whenever a play like that happens, automatic, same thing in the Clemson and Florida State game, I'm like, yep, it's destiny for Ohio State to pull it off. And well, we all saw what happened after that. Ohio State continues to drive. They convert this crazy, was it 2nd and 19 or 3rd? I think it was 3rd and 19. They get it on the 1 yard line, and then they had 2 plays. They do a pass play to Marvin Harrison Jr. It looked like they had him wide open. It was a bad throw, and then they run it up the middle for the touchdown. Barely, and I mean barely got in on that play. But guess what, guys? About I think it was either 45 minutes. No, it's probably like 30 minutes, 45 minutes after the game. My phone, especially on Twitter, my Twitter's blowing up. My Instagram's blowing up. Everybody's saying, yo, Matt, on that last play, Notre Dame only had 10 players on the field. And when people were sending me that, I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. Don't believe it. I thought people were trolling me. And then ESPN came out with the news. And then I started looking at all this stuff on Twitter and I rewatched the game. I was like, oh my gosh, I even counted for myself. They did only have 10 people on the field. But here's where things get even better, guys. The winning touchdown, the rush up the middle, guess where the running back ran? To where the 11th player would have been. This circle right here was where the other defensive lineman should have been. This is the craziest thing ever because more than likely, if Notre Dame has this player right here where he should have been, Ohio State doesn't score this game-winning touchdown. And that's what would upset me if I'm a Notre Dame fan, because if Ohio State would have passed for this touchdown, having that extra defensive lineman on the field wouldn't have mattered too much. But the fact they ran the ball where your other defensive lineman would have been and should have been, and they scored in that same, where this circle is exactly where we ran the ball. Gosh, that would just get to me. And I'll be honest with y'all, I was going for Notre Dame later in this game because Notre Dame never wins the big time game. I was wanting to see an upset, and to see that Notre Dame didn't have that last player on the field, I'm just like, man, how does that even happen? And what's even crazier about it is Marcus Freeman called a timeout before this play. But I think it was before the first play, right? And I don't think some of y'all understand how crazy this is. Do you know how many mistakes have to be made for you to not have 11 players on the field? Because number one, there's multiple coaches in the press box that are supposed to count how many players are on the field, and they didn't catch anything. And then the coach on the sideline, they didn't catch anything. And then also the player who should have been out there, he didn't catch anything. After the game, though, it is worth mentioning, Marcus Freeman's like, yeah, it's our fault. We made a mistake, which I do respect because a lot of head coaches, they come up with an excuse, and he just owned it. I like Marcus Freeman. Seems like a really solid guy. And his explanation of this right here was that he noticed it at the last second, but it was already too late to run a guy out there. I think he said something along the lines of he had his defensive lineman that was supposed to be there right beside him, and the defensive lineman was going to go in, but he told him not to. Which kind of had me thinking, would I rather rush my 11th player out there and risk a penalty, or have Ohio State play 11 guys versus 10? Me personally, and this is just me, I'd rather get a penalty running a guy on the field. Because, yeah, they're going to get the ball a little bit closer, but I'd rather know you beat me with 11v11 than 11v10. That's just my thinking. If you feel differently, that's okay. I understand it. But for me, no. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that we didn't do everything in our power to stop you. If you beat us with your 11 guys versus my 11 guys, I'm cool with it. But knowing you beat us when we made a minimal mistake, whoo, that would get to me. Rather less, though, in getting a move on here, we can sit up here and talk about this play for 10 minutes, but it doesn't change the fact that Ohio State won. And yet again, it goes back to this. I've been saying it on the channel for the past however long, 3, 4, 5 years. Notre Dame, they can't get over the hump. They can't win the big game. They can't. I don't know what it is. They just simply can't. They always find a way to lose. But I will say this. Notre Dame, they look legit, and they impress me. They look like they can hang with the Ohio States, the Bamas, the Georgias, the USC's, Texases of the world. Previously, in the past couple of years, I haven't felt that way because whenever Notre Dame plays your Alabamas or Ohio States, whoever, they always lose by like 10, 15, 20, 25 points. But in this game, I think it goes to show they might be ready to make that next leap. And by the way, speaking of USC's of the world, I noticed this in the schedule last night. I guess I just forgot. Notre Dame plays USC in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a heck of a ball game. But logging back in here with this game, I stated in the preview this game was going to tell us a lot about Notre Dame and Ohio State, and it did. For me, at least, what it told me is Ohio State is a really good team, and Notre Dame is a really good team. It was a great game, and it sucks that somebody had to lose, but that's what happens in football. You got winners and you got losers. Now, here's the interesting part about this. Remember, Notre Dame doesn't have a conference championship. And since they play USC in a couple weeks, What if Notre Dame upsets USC and runs the table? Do they still get in the playoff? I don't know. I tell you this much, though. I got no problem with an 11-1 Notre Dame getting in the playoff with their one loss being a 1-inch yard loss at home. I just don't have a problem with it because Notre Dame was super close to winning this game. On the flip side of it for Ohio State, you took care of business. You were the favorite in this game. You should have won the game, and you won it. It was a good win, but your standard isn't to beat Notre Dame in the regular season. I'm sorry, but you and Notre Dame have different standards. Notre Dame's standards aren't currently to win national championships. For Ohio State, yeah, that is your standard. For Ohio State heading into this season, what was the standard? Number 1, beat Michigan. Number 2, get into the playoff. Celebrate the win, congratulations. But on the grand scheme of things, this game really doesn't matter too much. It's awesome you won the game, but this game goes for nothing if you lose to Michigan again by 20 points. You see what I'm saying? Just continue this momentum, good win, celebrate it, but focus on the biggest picture. I could talk about this game for 15 more minutes. We got to get a move on and talk about our last and final game, and that's no other than USC and Arizona State. Don't worry, not going to talk about this game too much because I know a lot of people didn't watch it and I know a lot of people don't care about it. But here's what I will say. Like I stated in the intro, I stayed up and watched this game and I don't regret it. It was a good one. Don't let the final score deceive you. It was pretty close all the way out. And what I took away from this game is that USC, of course I didn't take anything away from their offense. We know what their offense is. But their defense, it still doesn't seem physical. For example, last year, remember when they got bullied by Utah? Yeah, I think that might happen again this year. I'm not even concerned about them giving up 28 points. I'm concerned with them getting pushed around some plays. I'm concerned with Arizona State breaking tackles left and right. That's what I'm concerned about. Don't really care about you giving up 28 points because if you were to tell USC you're going to give up 20 points every single game, they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll take that. We're going to win. Just something to keep your eyes on and pay attention to. That USC defense still a little questionable. And as we all know, or you should know, shouldn't you? Well, if not, I'm about to inform you. They play Colorado next week. You don't need me to sit up here and tell you why that's a big game. You know. And I'm just going to say this right now. If you made it to this far in the video, you'll get a little quick preview. USC is going to beat the absolute brakes off of Colorado. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. They thought, Colorado thought Oregon's offense was good. Wait till you see Caleb Williams. Dude, it's going to be so bad. I'm sorry. I'm just laughing thinking about it. It's going to be like one of the fights in middle school where you got them teachers running out in the halls. Stop the fight! Stop! That's literally what it's going to be. Big like, stop the fight! He's done! He's out! He's tapping out! Alright. On a serious note, though, it's going to be ugly. And yeah, that's the recap. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I'm still tired, man. I had to get back up at like 7 a.m. I took like a 4-hour nap, basically. Let me know your thoughts down below. But,